Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Nxtlvl Racing V8 Supercar race at the legendary Long Beach Speedway. This track was created in 1975 for F1 cars and eventually transitioned to being a main IndyCar circuit. This track has been nicknamed the American Monaco and Party at the Beach. This track has been home to many different types of racing, such as the IndyCar Series, GP Racing, GTD Racing, IMSA, Formula Drift, and even trophy trucks. So this will be a very interesting track. This track is extremely tight, extremely difficult, high risk, high reward, and will definitely take care of drivers who are patient and take care of their vehicles. We'll go along board with some of these cars practicing today and see how they're getting along. Let's jump behind Wesley Dunphy and see how he's getting around the track. This track definitely winds through the streets of Long Beach in California, and it is going to be very tricky. These turns really reward you being able to get from wall entrance to wall exit without tagging up your vehicle. It's also very difficult because you don't see what is on the other side of the corner. If we have any incidents today, there's multiple opportunities for an incident to end up taking out multiple drivers. See Wes just on a regular outlap, just trying to feel it out the car. Looks like he's already put down a 124.70. His possibilities a 123.8, so there's a good chance he'll be able to run that today. See Adam Swope and Kyle Johnson both out on an exit lap. That turn right there, that hairpin turn, that is going to be the biggest concern for drivers today. If they can get that right, it gives them the opportunity to really come down this front stretch, gain a lot of speed and momentum. We'll see quite a lot of passing in this area. It is the easiest spot to pass. Right here, this turn one, very difficult, tricky. There's a little gap right there. You're trying to get as far out to that outside wall as you can. Get it woed down here for this little chicane around the fountain. Get her back, brought up to speed, swing it onto this right-hander, go all the way out. You can see those tire marks on the wall, and then swing this back through here. Try to get the power down. Try not to tag the wall the same way you see the marks. This is a big passing zone right here. We'll see people be able to dive bomb into the inside right there if they've got it set up correctly. Right here, carry a lot of speed to the outside. Looks like Wes is taking a more conservative line into it to set up for it. This next turn, very tricky. You see those tire barriers are out quite a ways. Those are for safety for the drivers. However, it does make it so that there's a very tricky line coming through there. As we see going underneath the bridge, onto the straight, will turn right into this area. This is a tricky one because you're trying to set up to prioritize everything for this hairpin coming up after it. And that will complete one lap of the Long Beach circuit. Gavin Stambo will jump to the top of the leaderboard with a 123.3. Wesley Dunphy not far behind, 123.46. Those two are going to be the highest up so far. We've got a few more drivers who are waiting to join in, but it will be an interesting race. As we see Wesley Dunphy going out to the outside and losing it a little bit. Nope, I believe that's actually Nick. Just getting a little aggressive on the brakes there. Definitely a difficult track. We'll jump on board with Kyle here as he passes a driver off the pace. See him swing that car and get it up to full speed here. Hard on the brakes here. You got to swing it and then get to the outside to get all the speed you can. Using all of the track surface that is available to him. There's that tight, difficult corner. It scares you for a second because you think you're going to end up in that tire barrier, but you actually can carry quite a lot of speed to the exit of it. Nick back into there. Our points standing for the night are not that far off. Stewart and West battling for the lead. There's about a 2-position difference from there in order to be a lead change. But if one of them has a rough night tonight, you will definitely see a shakeup. Nick not far behind him. That'll probably be about a 3 to 4 position gap from him to first. Once again, very possible to do today. We see Nick completes his first clean lap, 124.78. Still not close enough to do much with it. Gavin Stambaugh staying high up on that leaderboard, although he does drop off a full second on that second lap. You can see on the track map there, drivers are a little bit spaced out. We've got a few going through the fountain area that are not far from each other, but decent gap. Nick trying to get it undercover. Let's jump back on board with Gavin Stambaugh and see how the car's running. Full speed down this, try to get it woed down, swing it, see if he can find that line. He will jump the curb right there. That is the fastest line around there, but it does make it difficult to get through that gap. Setting it up into that hairpin turn. Once again, if you get that hairpin turn right here, that sets you up perfect onto this front stretch, and there will be a lot of passing attempts on that stretch. See if he can pull off anything in the timing wise. This is just our practice laps. We will see a open style qualifying where they'll have about 10 minutes in order to qualify, and your best lap will count for it. Little bit of a tight scenario right there. I believe that's Gavin passing Jeremiah. Jeremiah and Greg will both be running up high in those points. I believe they're fighting for 4th place at the moment. Greg and Gavin are fighting for 4th. Kyle and Jeremiah fighting for 5th and 6th. We do have a few teams on tonight, so that will be an interesting thing to watch. Will they help set picks, help drive together? Some of these drivers do kind of carry a gap between them, and some of them are a little bit better at working as a team. So that will come into play tonight. We'll let Gavin Stambaugh finish this lap, and then we'll see if we can pull him up into the broadcast booth, maybe ask him how he's feeling about the track conditions tonight. Oof. Going to take a little bit of a crash exit right there. That'll push him back into the pits. We'll see if he's even going to run another lap. Gavin Stambaugh, got a copy?
Yep.
How do you feel about the track? You're running the fastest lap so far tonight, over a 10th ahead of Wesley Dunphy. How are you feeling about track conditions?
It's definitely gonna be a tight race. I mean, these concrete walls, man, they come out and get you.
Yeah, I saw that a little bit loose coming into that hairpin. Is there anything you're
Yeah.
worried about tonight other than that?
Really, I guess just lots of track awareness. There's gonna be lots of tight spots where if there's more than one car tied up, you're either gonna make it or you're gonna break it.
Yep, I see you're in a points battle for 4th. How do you feel about racing Greg tonight, and what do you think your odds and chances are with that?
I did hear earlier that Greg ran a faster lap time than Wes, and they were in the 122s, pretty high, like 122.8. So I'm hoping I can just keep pace and keep the car clean.
All right, well, good luck and have a good night.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can jump on board with another driver tonight. As Gavin goes back out to set another lap, let's jump behind Wesley Dunphy, see how good of a lap he's running. Looks like Nick has actually dialed it down. He's gotten it down to a 123.9. That'll put him a half second behind West for second. Now this is just a practice session. Some of these drivers might be running qualifying laps, and some of these drivers might just be trying to see how good the track conditions are in order to anticipate tire usage. They will have one extra set of tires, so there will be the drivers will be pitting sometime about the half hour mark in this race. There'll be a little bit of strategy that goes into that, when they pit and how they pit around each other. There is some passing that is available with these street circuits. Sometimes that's the best way to get a driver. If you're riding behind them and you're just not having the quite the right amount of movement, that might be an opportunity for you to go ahead and pass them. Wesley going a little outside on that exit of the hairpin, just kind of getting a little loose. These cars are very difficult. With the locked rear end, it's very easy to spin out these cars on acceleration or braking, and it's very difficult to try to get the car to aim the way you want it. You really have to be patient going in and out of corners. As you see, he loses it on turn 1. That's going to be bad for him. I think he's going to keep going with it, though. I think he's trying to figure out tire wear for tonight, and that will definitely not be what he wanted to happen. That's going to be a difficult loss for him. Let's jump back to Adam Swope and see how he's got going on right now. Adam out there running nice smooth laps, trying to figure out the track. Greg Bush puts in his first lap at 1:24.3, so that'll jump him into 4th place, right behind Nick. He's got a lot to work on still. So we see Adam trying to figure out the track, not that far behind him with a 1:25.6. There is going to be quite a lot of stretch, about 5 seconds between the first place car and the last place car. With 9 cars out on track, this track could be treacherous. If one of them spins through that outside of that hairpin or the fountain turn, that definitely could be... Oh, we've got a bad accident there. Adam Swope locks him up, and it looks like driver runs right into him. There's not much he can do there. Kyle Johnson sitting in 6th with a 1:25.6. Looks like he hasn't ran too many laps. It's going to be a matter of him trying to figure out what to do with this car. Jonathan Casebeer, a newer driver to our series, running a 1:25.9. Not too bad for what he's dealing with and the amount of work that he's got to put into this track. Jeremiah Vincent will jump up ahead into 6th place with a 1:25.1. Not exactly what he wanted, but still an improvement there. Greg Bush, 1:24.3. A little bit of movement there. We've got a couple drivers coming down the front stretch, so we'll get to see how they finish out. Wesley Dunphy with a 1:23.39, so him and Gavin Stamball less than a tenth between them. That's going to be a tight contested race tonight. We're still waiting on I believe one more driver to sign up, and we'll see how that goes. These drivers all come from different skill levels and different categories of racing. You got a couple dirt track drivers here, got a couple autocrossers here, and a couple purely sim drivers. So that'll make this very interesting in how they run together. We see somebody sitting out there on the wall. That is a very tricky corner. There is kind of a bump into the entrance of that, and if you get it wrong, as you see, just sitting out in the tire barrier. Kyle Johnson jumping up a little bit with 1:24.1. I believe that will end practice, and we're going to end up jumping into qualifying. Let's jump on board with Wesley Dunphy and see how good of a lap he can put down. Looks like we got about 4 Ford Mustangs out there tonight, and the rest of the field will be made up of Chevy Camaros. These cars are very well balanced together. The series does a lot of work to make sure that they are comparable to the point where they are within a tenth of a mile an hour on the top end speed. Wesley Dunphy finally heading out to start his qualifying run. These drivers are going to probably end up using about a 1 lap, slow lap, just trying to warm up the tires to really get out there. As we jump on board with Jonathan Casebeer, out there just trying to put something together, see if he can do anything to get up there and run these fast times with these leaders. Kyle Johnson navigating his way through those tight corners. He's getting really close to that wall. That is a really nice line coming out of Kyle. Using all of the available surface in order to try to warm those tires. Jeremiah Vincent, jump on board with him for half a second there. We see he just goes wide a little bit. Not the way he wanted. I think he's kind of struggling tonight. We'll jump back on board with Wes, see where he's at on the lap, see if he can put anything together. He'll be coming right through this last couple of corners, and then we'll get to see his fast lap, see what he's got ready. Tires in this series are important. In qualifying, your fastest lap is going to be at the beginning. These tires really do perform well when they're cold, and when they get hot, they really start to slip. This corner very difficult because the car wants to walk itself out to the outside wall. You don't want to lift here, so you really got to get it centered the right way. Hard braking into turn 1. Is he going to run to the outside? He won't, but he will try to curve around that wall. A little bit of time lost there. Around the fountain wall, nice exit through that chicane. Going to give up a little bit on that wall. He could be getting a little bit closer, but I think that's going to help him out to set up for this corner right here. He'll get a little bit of speed coming down. This is a compression right here, and he can really stiffen up the front tires so you can understeer through it. You see he actually kicks the rear end out in order to try to get the car to turn a little faster. Nice smooth through here over the bump. Gavin Stanball sets the first lap time up on the board at 1:23.7. I don't know if he's going to be happy with that. He does have another half a second he can pull off of that based on practice laps. Maybe just not the right lap for him. We'll see if he can get a better lap time on his second attempt. Coming through this long, you got to be really patient for that corner because it's important to set up for this hairpin. West gets a decent run through it. It gets out to the outside, on throttle, car nice and straight. Should be a good time here. Greg Bush putting up a 1:24. We do see Wes Dunphy a 1:23.8. That puts him just a tenth behind Gavin Stanball. This is going to be a fierce battle here. We see Greg Bush in third. About a second behind the two of them, but so far the closest ones to those two. Those two are going to be challenging and running away for the win. Looks like no Stuart Reese tonight. That will be a shake-up in points if he doesn't make it in. Nicholas Camp jumps up with a 1:23.9, so now we've got 2/10 between the top 3 cars. Let's jump on board with Gavin Stanball, see if he's out there running another flying lap. He is. Coming through this tight corner. Gavin Stanball still out there pushing it, so we'll see if he's got anything on this second lap attempt. Wesley Dunphy speeds up a little bit with a 1:23.79, so that puts him just 0.04 of a second behind Gavin. This is going to be a definite battle and should make for a really good start to this race. There's going to be a little bit of a trick in the beginning of this race because if drivers aren't willing to be patient and try to dive into spots right there, that first fountain turn can really cause some chaos. We've seen races that are official go here, and that ends up being such a massive pileup. You can take out half the field all in that corner. Gavin Sandball finishing this fast lap. We'll see if it improves his time any. Nicholas Camp up to a 1:23.98 still. 1:23.47, massive improvement for Gavin Sandball. Those 3/10 is going to push him away from Wesley Dunphy. Wes is probably not going to be able to do much with him. I believe he's on his third lap, and really you can only run about 4 laps in the amount of time that we're given. About 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Pay attention a little more to the back of the field. Adam Swope with a 1:25.1 and Jeremiah Vincent 1:25.5. Kyle Johnson with a 1:25.5. Those three right there are going to be fighting for that 6th place position at the moment. That's going to be an interesting battle towards the back of the field, which is good. That'll give us more to focus on during this race. Not just the front three, but some of the other drivers in the back of the field are going to be tight, and we're going to get to see a lot of action tonight between these corners. Gavin Sandball, nice exit there. Gets a little bit loose. That's not going to help him to get speed down this straight. Gavin Sandball knocked off the top spot. Wesley Dunphy with a 1:23.385. As we see Gavin goes on the wall, Wes has got to be happy about that improvement. Gavin not going to have much to be able to do with that. He's going to be out of time, basically, in order to advance. Nicholas Camp with a flying lap, 1:23.375, jumps up into the front spot. We're still within a tenth of each other, but nice lap out of Nicholas Camp. He's got to be happy with that. That'll give him the edge going into that turn 1. He'll be able to take off and run with it. See if we can jump back to Greg and see how he's running laps. Greg has actually decided not to continue. Nope, there we go. Finally got it jumped on him, running a 1:24.7. So only a little over a second in this entire field. About 2 seconds, actually. That is going to make for some exciting racing tonight. The racing field should stretch out a little bit, but we're still going to have racing throughout the entire field, not just in a couple spots. Pit strategy definitely will play into this. Are you going to go at the exact halfway mark? Are you going to try to run long so you have better tires for the second half? Or are you just going to try to jump everybody in the first round of pitting and then hope you can hold them off at the end? That's going to be the question for these drivers. Greg Bush coming around to finish a flying lap. We'll see if he's going to be able to take any time off and get close to those leaders. I know he's capable of doing, as we heard Gavin Sandball tell us a few minutes ago. He has run some fast laps with these leaders, and that will give him a chance to run up there with them. Jonathan Casebeer, nice time with a 1:24.5. I'm sure he's going to be happy with that improvement, putting him all the way up to 5th place. Greg Bush jumps up to a 1:23.8, so now within half a second, you've got the top 5 cars. That is going to make for some excellent racing tonight. As we count down the last minute here, going to be a very interesting race as we see that all these drivers are now fairly close to each other. Looks like all the drivers have decided that they are done with their qualifying attempts. Nope, as we see Kyle Johnson actually out there. He was talking about in the beginning of the practice and pre-practice that he's not exactly comfortable with this track, and he might just be out there trying to get a little more experience on this track. This is a very tricky track to memorize. Even though it seems short with being about 2 miles, it's actually very tricky, and each corner matters to the point where messing up one little part of these corners can end up ruining your entire race. Jeremy Kitchen, Miguel Lara will jump in here, but not qualified, so they will be starting at the back of the pack. we will have a 9-driver field. Maybe nope, that'll be 10-driver field. This will be an interesting race for the night. Drivers lining up on that back stretch. They're going to get a little bit of about a half a lap prep for their tires before we go live. And a big shakeup in points. First and second place for 60 points difference, which is 2 spots in our point system. And Stewart is actually leading those points. He is not going to be here tonight. That is a massive change in points. He could drop all the way back out of these point standings. Wes is probably, as long as he can finish this race, going to be able to take over first place. That'll move Nick up into a third. Greg and Gavin, we'll see who gets it out of that. There is a 9-point differential for them tonight. So that will be a shakeup all the way up to our podium positions. This is a longer season, so there is a chance for him to make it up later, but we'll see how it goes as they go yellow flag here. This is the best time to get familiar with the person you're running up next to prepare. A lot of these drivers have raced with each other before, so they do know what to expect and how each driver races. Should be a fairly clean race, but definitely can have some tempers flare when you have a track this tight. See Nicholas Camp pacing the field there with the pace car. Gavin Stanball a little bit behind, trying to squeeze out a little bit of life out of those tires and set them up for the beginning of this race as we go underneath that bridge. Greg Bush, nice and smooth and calm. Jonathan Casebeer, it's going to be a very good race for him. Hopefully nice and exciting. We're going to be jumping between cameras on this beginning, so we're going to be coming green down this straight. Very difficult to get these cars through here full speed. Ooh, a little bit of an accident in the back half of the field. That's not going to be good for damage. The field tightens up. Nick will have control of this field as he takes off. Wesley Dunphy seems to have gotten the jump. Greg, a beautiful jump on there. Gavin Stanball coming out. These guys are going to be fighting into turn one. Turn one is very difficult. Not exactly set up for multiple cars. It's going to be a very difficult corner here. Jonathan Casebeer actually making up the ground on Greg. Greg will jump back behind him. Looks like Gavin Stanball is going to go ahead and let Wesley Dunphy by and set up out of that corner. Ooh, sounds like we've got an accident in the back of the field. Greg Bush trying to fight with Jonathan here at the moment. It's going to be a moment. If he can get the right line, he can get underneath him, he's going to think better of it. It's only the first lap with an hour-long race. You do not need to make a huge move now. It's going to be a matter of taking care of your vehicle and getting it ready. You want to run fast, but you don't want to end up crashing out this early. Wesley Dunphy just trying to keep Nick in the windshield. Nick running a beautiful line. It's going to be difficult to keep up with. Let's jump on and watch these leaders. Looks like Nick going a little bit wide there. That'll set him up a little better for the hairpin. Wesley, looks like Nick goes a little wide. Wes cutting it a little short. Could have gotten on the gas, but I think he thought better of it with the positioning of Nick. Drivers all straightening out a little bit less contact for lap 2 would be nice. A 1:30, as you can tell, that first lap. High times, but a lot of battling going on through this field. We're going to get a little bit of a parade effect here, but it should sort itself out. Gavin Stanball trying to keep him in the windshield. Looks like Wes cutting off the gap a little bit to Nick. Nick gets a little loose there coming out of that exit there. Gavin nice and smooth using the entire track. This compression zone right here is going to tell the tale if any of them got too aggressive with the first lap, and no, they're good. Nice and smooth, controlled through there. Got some gaps in the back half of the field, 2 seconds between them. So they're starting to stretch out, and then they'll chase each other down. Looks like the number 9 car actually got a little bit loose back there. Jeremiah in the back of this field really struggling with this car tonight. He normally is up a little bit higher, but just not feeling the combination. A problem with these cars every now and then is if you just get a little too aggressive, you start to lose it, and it will just snowball into a harsh effect. It is hard to come back from. He'll have to slowly work his way up to the front as we start seeing some of these race laps, 124s, running a full second faster in qualifying, but you can tell these drivers are trying to work to save their tires so that way maybe they can pit a little bit later or at least control the pit strategy rather than having to pit sooner. Jeremiah Vincent, nice and smooth through these here. That should give him a chance. Looks like Jeremy Kitchen falling off quite a bit from the lead pack. A 142. I'm not sure if he just had an accident or just really fell back. And Jeremiah Kitchen definitely not happy with this running. Looks like the rear tires are already hot. That is going to be a struggle for him tonight with the way that this track lays out. We'll jump back on board with our leaders and see how the battle is going up there. Wesley Dunphy really applying the pressure to Nick. Going to keep pushing him through the track. Wes is a very experienced driver, and he's going to know that if he just stays in that rear view of Nick Camp, all he's got to do is force an error if Nick makes one. Oh, no, instead Wes makes one. It looks like maybe he just got a little tight on the exit running behind. These cars do have effect when you're running nose to tail. Gavin Stambaugh getting the position on Wesley Dunphy. Wes has got to be upset about that mistake. Looks like Wes gets into the wall again on the outside. Gavin Stambaugh going to be able to run fast into this corner. He's going to get a little loose too. Missed that tire bear just barely, but he's going to be chasing down Nick at the moment. Wes starting to apply pressure to second place. Jonathan Casebeer falling off from the lead pack, but in fourth place is going to be a shakeup for him in the points. He was further back in the points, but that will, with some of the drivers not being here tonight, that'll give him a big advantage as he jumps all the way up and runs with them. Drivers starting to settle into their positions. Kevin Stambaugh letting Wes Dunphy by. Wes going to have to try to fight. Or nope, Wes still behind Gavin. Looks like they've actually created a gap between them. Wesley Dunphy applying some of the pressure back there behind him. Gavin getting to that outside wall. Looks like he might have got the rears a little hot. That's going to be something he's going to have to compete with. 7 minutes into this race, this is not what you want to see because you're going to have to run probably about 30 minutes of this race. He's going to have another few laps before he really can even pit without ruining the entire day strategy. Fastest lap so far, 124.4. Definitely a gap between our race pace and our qualifying pace as these drivers try to make the tires last the entire race. Greg Bush starting to fight with Jonathan Casebeer. We will see a good battle there, hopefully. Greg Bush and Jeremiah Vincent, our teammates, and usually they're very close together in the running. Looks like Jeremiah Vincent just really struggling with the car today. Jonathan Casebeer seeing Wesley and Gavin up in front of them. He's starting to catch up. This very well could be all 5 cars very close together within a couple seconds. It's like Jonathan got a better exit on that hairpin turn. Jonathan getting a little wide, tapping the wall. Greg doesn't take advantage of it. Not a good idea in these tight corners. You definitely can end up taking both of you out. Looks like he played it smart and safe. Greg getting a little tap on the outside wall. It shouldn't mess up anything on the suspension or anything, but it will slow the car down a little bit. Jonathan just really loose. Looks like Greg getting loose behind him because of the air effect. That is something that is very unique to these cars because of the way the wings are designed. They do turn up a lot of air, and the person running behind him often will get a lot loose. Greg looking like he's making his intentions known to pass him going into one of these corners. Jonathan will have to play that smart, and the two of them will be able to run side by side. This track is not friendly to that scenario. Greg playing it smart, stay right in that wing mirror. Try to force an error. Nice and patient through here. If he can set up, looks like he's got a good setup for this hairpin. If he can make something out of it, get below him, he'll get a better exit than Jonathan. He might be able to do something on the straight, but Jonathan gets the power down smoother. Interesting way that he's running that corner. Although he's getting loose out to that outside wall, it looks like it's actually giving him the ability to get on throttle sooner. Probably a couple mile-an-hour difference on that front stretch. Greg still staying in that wing mirror. Nice and tight and tidy through here. Looks like Greg's got a lot better line on that. It's going to be very tough for him. Trying to set up a pass on this circuit is difficult because of how tight the walls and everything are. You really have to get it in the right spot. Looks like he's got a good setup here. If he can carry it through this next corner, down through the compression, he'll get that spot. Looks like he's got the line for it. He's going to have to run wide, tighten up Jonathan. Jonathan will go to the inside and go ahead and concede the position, it looks like. Greg's going to run to that right-hand side. Going to set up. It's going to be a difficult corner for him, but that will work. He has the fourth position. Good pass for Gregory Bush back here in the back half of the field. Looks like the rest of the field has kind of sorted itself out, and we got some big gaps towards the back of the field between Adam Swope, Miguel Lara, and Jeremy Kitchen. Kyle Johnson jumping on board for him with half a second. For Gavin Stanbaugh jumping up to him, running second, just keeping Nick in the windshield. It's going to be interesting if towards the end of the race he's actually got something for him, or if this is as fast as he can run it, and Nick's just going to have to make a mistake in order for him to take advantage of it. Wesley Dunphy staying in that rearview mirror, though. Looks like he's got a better straight line speed. It's just going to be a matter of getting through these corners smooth and being able to make an advantage of it. Sounds like right behind him a little bit of an accident there. Must have scuffed the wall a little bit. Wesley Dunphy. Gavin Stanbaugh, big mistake. Front end damage. That's going to hurt his chances today. Wesley Dunphy will take that position. Gavin's got to be upset with that. It's so easy to do on this track, but every time you do it, it's just so frustrating. Going to be a shake-up at the beginning of the front of the field. Gregory Bush running fourth. Will he be able to capitalize on that time difference? Looks like Greg back up and going, or excuse me, Gavin back up and going. There's going to be about a 6-second gap between the two of them, though. It's got to be a frustrating thing to happen this early into the race. Nice and tidy through here, both of them. Wesley Dunphy not able to get on the power as soon. It looks like he could use a little bit of that outside line in order to get on it, but it's such a hard thing to pull off. He did run a faster lap that lap. Gavin Stanbaugh staying behind him. Gavin Stanbaugh does have the fastest lap of the race, though, with a 1:24.241. Wonder if he just overheated the tires a little bit running that lap. Looks like Jonathan Casepier actually passes him for third place. That's got to be a good day for Jonathan to be able to run up there like that. 5th, 6th, and 7th getting close together. Let's see what a battle we got going on back here. Go on board with Miguel Lara, see if he can do anything with Jeremiah Vincent. Vincent running that perfect lineup on the fountain. We've got a good race going here. These two running close together. Kyle actually starting to separate himself a little bit. Ooh, nice catch by Miguel. That's going to be difficult. Going to overheat the tires a little bit. Jeremiah actually starts to gain a little bit of ground up on Kyle. In this back half of the field, you're going to start to notice that some of these drivers are better in sectors of the track than others. And that's why you see kind of that compression between the drivers. So we see the field kind of separating out. Greg Busch maybe got a little bit loose, dropping all the way back to 8th. He is in pits getting repaired. That is a tough break for him. It's going to be difficult if he ends up taking tires at this moment and not waiting. A 46-minute run on a set of tires is nearly impossible. It can be done, but those last few laps, you're going to be running the chance of a puncture. It's going to be very, very difficult. We see multiple cars actually in the pit. Maybe a wild strategy here. Adam Swope's going to be able to pass Greg. See if he can make anything out of it. We're definitely going to get a shake-up in points. If they go the way that they stand right now, Gavin's going to move up to 3rd, Wes up to 1st, Nick up to 2nd. We're going to see Greg will fall back a little bit. Kyle running with Jeremiah Vincent. Those two underneath the bubble, they've got a 9-point differential, so whoever ends up leading the other one through this race will actually move up in the standings. Those two, as close as they are. We've got a lot of good points battles here in these races. Wesley Dunphy getting it done, passing Nicholas Camp. We'll see a fast lap out of Wesley Dunphy, a 1:24.0. Nick getting it back. It looks like we've got a fast race going on at the front of the field. Let's jump on board and see what we've got going on. They're trading positions back and forth. You can see Wes setting up to pass him there. Looks like just trying to find the right line and force an error out of Nick. Looks like they just swapped back and forth for a second there, but what a fast lap out of Wesley Dunphy. A 1:24 with race pace, trying to conserve tires, is fairly impressive. Only 0.7 seconds off the qualifying time when you weren't worried about tire wear. Being a 2-mile course at 1:24 seconds, that is incredibly fast. Right on par with some of the best guys out there. These two spend hours and hours on their craft trying to get better and better and trying to get ready to race each other. Multiple practice sessions with each other, and they have different style disciplines, but they do race well together. Looks like they've established a gap. The next closest driver, Jonathan Casebeer, in 3rd place with a 12-second difference. And then further on down the field, you just keep seeing the gaps. 9 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 second. All the way back, we got a 21-second gap between drivers. This field is starting to stretch out. We might get a little bit towards the halfway mark of drivers actually starting to lap each other. We see Greg Busch and Jeremy Kitchen. They must have got into it or something, spending laps in the pit for damage. That's going to be a frustrating thing to deal with. Wesley getting the better run through there, but not able to capitalize on it with how tight that circuit is right there. That's going to be part of that issue with the sector being different. Wes might have a faster time through there, but if it's not a good spot to pass, it doesn't help him any. These two leaders running within half a second a lap of each other. Wesley's actually got the faster laps, but not being able to do anything with it just because of the positioning and how tight this track is. Hard on the brakes trying to set up for that corner. Very difficult right here. You really have to be patient and work your way out on this corner to set up for that hairpin. You see him going all the way to the left. Wes might have this figured out in order to get on the throttle sooner. No, Nick with another perfect exit on that. That's gotta be infuriating for Wes, not being able to put it down the power that fast. He is running faster laps than Nick, but just can't make anything out of it. 1:24.6 and 1:24.61. So the gap between them on a lap is just about 100th of a second. Adam Swope dropping back off of Miguel Lara. That's got to be difficult. Got some Some tire wear issues probably going on in the back of the field. All the cars except for our front two drivers are starting to stretch out from each other. Fourth, fifth, and sixth actually starting to get a little tight. Let's see what we got going on back here. Gavin Stanball sitting in fourth, Kyle Johnson in fifth. Just barely able to see each other through this. We'll jump back behind on Jeremiah Vincent, see what's going on. These four drivers, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, all running about 5 or 6 car lengths behind each other. They've all got to be settled in, just being patient, trying to nurse your tires home. Car off pace to the right, tapping that barrier. That's got to be a frustrating thing going on with him. Ooh, and a lockup. Looks like that's a lap driver on the Phantom machine. Greg Bush falling all the way 3 laps behind the rest of the field. He's back out on track, but it's going to be hard to make up that amount of time. At this point, he may have to consider trying to make the entire 40-minute stint. Greg Bush falling another lap. Looks like 4 is where he's going to stay, but that's got to be frustrating for the day. Wesley Dunphy still running fastest lap, but not able to capitalize on it. Having Stanball, that spin out earlier in the race has definitely hurt him a little bit. All the way back and forth trying to fight his way through. He is far enough ahead of Greg, so that will change the points position if they finish the way they are now. 5th place, Kyle Johnson behind him, starting to make up some ground. Looks like he's going to work his way through this crowd. He was struggling a little bit in the practice laps, but it looks like he's figured that car out and might actually be able to make a run for it. Moving up to 5th would actually help him in the standings also. Kyle Johnson, if they finish the way they are right now, would jump all the way up to 4th place from 6th. That'll be a happy finish for him. Nice, smooth laps is going to be the name of the game at this moment. We'll jump back up to our leaders and see how they're running. Just 3/10 between the two of them. Pretty incredible this far into a run. Look like Nick's starting to get the rear end a little loose. Wonder if he's overheated those tires. Wes Dunphy, knowing that and being the smart racer that he is, he just keeps making him overheat those tires. He'll be able to get him. Probably be able to use a little bit of pit strategy on him. If he runs long an extra lap or two, at the end of the race, it'll definitely help him. He'll have the chance to pass Nick without even ever having to make the pass on track. A little bit of tap from Wes Dunphy. Got a little aggressive. Thought he was going to make it work. Nick Camp comes to the inside, and that's going to be a little annoying because that is a good passing zone right there, but just not given the right amount of space in order to make it happen. These drivers are all friends, but it doesn't mean that temper doesn't flare. You get a little frustrated with a fellow competitor, and that's one of those things. They don't talk to these two drivers. Both go into separate group chats for this race, so they won't be communicating with each other, but that is something they'll have to fight. Wesley Dunphy having to make an aggressive move because of Nick Kemp getting loose into that corner. Hopefully he didn't spin the tires too much, but I do know he's getting frustrated back there behind Nick. He knows he's faster than him. He just needs to be given the space in order to do it. We've got a battle all the way back for 6th position. We'll jump back into that and see what we've got going on. Miguel Lara trying to put the pressure on Jeremiah Vincent. Actually incorrect. These two have created a little bit of a separation. They must have had the pass already happen. Wonder if Miguel actually got a little loose in the gap gained there. The rest of this field all starting to stretch out. Kyle Johnson not that far behind Gavin Stanball, but not close enough to make much work of it at the moment. Gavin Stanball out there trying to control those tires so that way he can make it to the end. We are getting close to pit strategy opening up with 36 minutes left in this race. We're going to see some pit strategies. Some of these drivers are already pushing these tires to the limits. They're going to have to pit when they have to, but the pit strategy, if you could go a little long, gives you better tires at the end. It is very difficult to pass, so we might see some of these drivers think better of trying to pass them on it like that. Looks like Greg Busch goes ahead and says, screw everything else. I'm going to go ahead and go for the fastest lap. He does so. A 1:23.794. That is worth a couple points in the point standing, but with him being all the way in 9th, I don't think it's going to do much to help him in the way of the points. Gavin Stanball onto this front straight. Car looks pretty smooth and controlled, so must not have done too much damage with that accident. Jonathan Casebeer doing a great job, 3rd place, running his own race, being controlled with it. Not tearing up the car. He's got to be happy with this position. As he runs just across Wesley Dunphy. Looks like Wes might have got loose. Wesley Dunphy catching up to, Gavin Stanball catching up to Wesley Dunphy. Wes must have just had a little bit of an accident. I wonder what the issue is with that. We might actually be able to interview him in the after action report and see what happened. Gavin Stanball letting Wesley know he'd like to pass him. I don't know if Wes just burned the tires up, but Wes going to give him a little bit of space, but not enough to really get it done. We're going to see as they go into this hairpin if Gavin Stanball's got anything for him. They were fighting up at the beginning of the race, so I wonder what happened here. Wes does give space. He's going to go ahead and take the pit option. 34 minutes into this left in this race. That's kind of an aggressive strategy. I wonder if he just burned the tires up. Kyle Johnson still out there running. He's got Gavin in his windshield on that long straight, but not enough to really make a move. Best thing he can do right now is try to bide his time and pit at the same time. He might be able to make a case to get up there into that 4th place position. Jonathan Casebeer still out there running smooth. That was not Wesley Dunphy, so that must have been Jeremy Kitchen that we saw actually take his pit. Jeremy Kitchen fighting for that last place position. He's really struggling out there today. These cars are a handful and do not reward being aggressive, and that might have been the issue. Wesley Dunphy is actually going to take the pit this lap. Still a little bit aggressive. Probably another 2 laps is about the normal, so maybe he's thinking if he's got better tires, he can pass him out on the track and then hold him off. We're going to see Jonathan Casebeer, if he decides to make the right move, see if he decides to pit on this lap. He's not going to. He's going to stay out. He's going to pass Wesley Dunphy as he's pitting. Wes will get that position back probably later on. Something going on in the pits back there. We see Miguel Lara parked up against that. I believe that's John Adams. I don't know if that's on purpose or if that's something going on. Wesley Dunphy, you see him leaving the pits. See on that outlap. We'll jump back on board with Nick and see what he's got going on out there. Nicholas Camp running his fastest lap of the race this deep. He's probably going to take a few more laps and try to set up a good run. If he can keep running those times with these tires, there's no reason to take the pit. We'll see if he decides to make the strategy call right now or if he decides to wait it out. He's going to wait it. No, he is going to go ahead and take the pit option. That gap has opened up to 10 seconds between him and West, so he might end up passed on this pit. Wesley Dunphy coming through this section. That hard left-hander right there. So he is probably going to pass Nick on the track just because of the pit call. Standings are all messed up at the moment just because of this whole pit system. We'll have to wait a few laps to see how it actually shakes up. Jonathan Casebeer running second because of it. Jonathan's still out there, so we'll see what he's got. Actually, technically at first at the moment, but I don't believe that's going to stick once he does decide to pit. He is taking a chance and trying to run long in these tires. Greg Bush still continuing to keep that fastest lap. Looks like he's running pretty far off the pace now on these other laps with a 125.1. That's not going to be good enough to do much with, but he is going to get those extra points for the fastest lap of the race. We've got drivers exiting the pit. Nick Camp on his own. See if we can't find the action going on out on a track. Jeremiah Vincent running right in front of Wesley Dunphy back in 5th and 6th place. Wesley Dunphy does have the faster car, but it is going to be difficult to deal with Jeremiah Vincent. And he doesn't want to buy his time because he's trying to pass Nick out on the actual track, so that's going to be difficult for him. Nick Camp back into the lead, holding it. Just good timing on the pit, looks like. Jeremiah Vincent a little bit loose. Doesn't look like he's taken the pit option yet, so as long as Wes is smart, Jeremiah should be going in for pit in the next couple laps. He's going to stay out. Kind of an aggressive call there for Jeremiah, but it might end up working out for him. He also is holding up Wes. Our top three are Jonathan, Jeremiah, and Wes, and Nick falls back to 4th with that pit call. Wes Dunphy does finally get the pass. Looks like Jeremiah lets him go. Not worth trying to hold up one of the leaders. Trying to get some respect back in the long run. Smart move by Jeremiah. So Wes will have the chance to run Jonathan by. Just going to matter when Jonathan decides to make the pit call. Jonathan has decided to take the pit. He is leaving at the moment, so there is going to be back shaking up the point, or the position. We're going to have to wait a couple laps in order to see where these drivers are actually on the track. We've got quite a lot on that back coming up to the front stretch. There's a lot of cars back there. Wesley Dunphy kind of on alone by himself. I believe that's going to be for the lead, though. That is, in fact, in the lead, though. A 124.0. Ran a 124.3 for that lap. Greg Bush making a couple spots. Looks like Miguel Lara must have taken damage, and that's going to put him a couple laps back trying to repair that damage. several battles going on through this field. Let's see if we can find a couple. Gavin Stanball running fast. Kyle ends up making the pass with the pit strategy. I don't believe Kyle is pitted yet. So that is going to be an interesting thing that he's going to have to contend with. Not sure who the driver there is, and looks like Miguel Lara in front of him, so that pass doesn't really matter. He's going to be able to buy his time with that. He doesn't need to go aggressive with him. Nick Camp pretty far in front of him, 26-second margin. That's not going to help him out too much. This pit strategy is going to work itself out, but it's going to take a few laps in order to do it, as we see some of the drivers running a little long. Watch the drivers coming through a pack through this last turn. Kyle Johnson, Miguel Lara, and Gavin Stanbaugh. Gavin Stanbaugh keeping him in the mirror, but Kyle Johnson just getting a beautiful run on that stretch. Looks like Gavin Stanbaugh going to have to work to fight him. Fight and catch up to him. Just not going to have much to do with it. Looks like the fight for first has opened up a pretty large gap. Second place Nicholas Camp fighting all the way back with Greg Bush. That's going to be something he's going to have to deal with. Is Greg not going to be giving up many positions, being the fact he's going to have to fight for position up there. He's a couple laps down, but it's going to be a frustrating thing to deal with since it was caused by an accident early in the race. He'll get the entrance onto that corner. Got a driver out there with no front end. That's going to be an annoyance. These cars are aero dependent. Without a front bumper, you do lose a little bit of your speed. That is Nick behind him. Must have gotten a little aggressive and just tapped the wall. That's caused the gaps, and Wesley Dunphy is probably going to take the lead with this race. That works out well for him, but it will move Nick all the way back. Nick's going to have to fight all the way to the end of this race with no front bumper. And since he's already trying to pit for the damage really is not going to be helpful. Running that whole rest of the race, though, the suspension's going to be moving a little bit different. It's going to be a frustration of his. Not real close enough to make a move on Greg, but he doesn't have to make the move. If he stays right where he's at, he doesn't have to fight for anything. Kyle Johnson is in third place after the shakeup of all the pits, so making a good move, Kyle, running through this track. He was a little frustrated to begin the race, talking about how difficult this track was, but looks like he's actually made something out of it. It's going to be fun to interview him come afterwards. He's got to be excited about this run here. Nice and smooth and tidy through there. Gavin starting to apply a little bit of pressure, but not going to have enough to do much with it. Kyle is getting a perfect exit coming out of that hairpin turn. He's going to be able to accelerate, get a ton of speed through there. Gavin's got to be frustrated seeing him just run away over and over, lap after lap, wanting to make that pass to get the podium position. That podium is so sought after. I don't believe that's going to be enough to put Kyle above Gavin in the points, but it is going to put him really close in points going into our next weekend. These two running fairly close together. Kyle just working his way to hold him off. Gavin's starting to be a little aggressive, making some mistakes there. That's not going to help him. You can see the damage still on that machine. Running the exit just too wide, getting aggressive, trying to make a move on him. Not able to do so. Kyle running a really flawless race today. 21 minutes left in this race. He has got to be happy running that third and last podium position. That is a real good race for him. Running through this section into the hairpin. Gavin's got a better entrance into it, but just can't make anything out of the exit because of the way he's entering that corner. We're going to go on board with Kyle as he just accelerates full speed. You can see this raw speed. See how it just pulls the car out to the outside of the track. Wesley Dunphy putting a faster lap down with a 1:23.9. He's going to be happy with that, but he's going to have to pull an entire 2/10 off in order to get that fastest lap back from Greg Busch. I know he's going to be wanting it, but trying to push for it may end up ruining his entire strategy. He does have a 15-second gap to Nick, but it's not going to help him. Kyle Johnson, we're back on board with him, just moving. Beautiful entrance to that corner. You can tell he's calm, composed, and just running his lap, which is all he's got to do. If he gets too focused on Gavin being behind him, he can ruin his race, but as long as he stays calm and collected, he'll be able to make something out of this. That is the battle for our final podium position, so they will be wanting to run each other quite aggressively. Looks like we did end up with a pass back in the back of the field. Miguel Lara and Jeremy Kitchen are running back there. It will not actually matter based on the lap difference, but I'm sure they're going to race each other just for the fun of it at this point. Gavin got a good exit on that. Let's see if he can put anything down coming through this front straight. He's going to grab the slipstream from him. Smart move to do it, but no, Kyle's got a little more speed than him coming through this. Not much he's going to be able to do. Gavin can get aggressive on turn one, but it's probably not going to work out for him. You can see that that damage on that front bumper is actually affecting his speed. If he didn't have that damage, there's a good chance he's got a better run on that straight. He might be able to slipstream, get past him. Not going to be able to do much after because of it. These two are racing aggressive, but they both race clean against each other, so we probably won't see any aggressive moves to try to turn them or anything, push each other out of the way. These V8 supercars are all about clean racing. You don't want to tear up the car, and these drivers do like to work to try not to wreck each other, but try to do things clean. You could throw a blanket over these two as they just keep pushing around the track lap after lap after lap, running clean, aggressive times. Good job on both of them. Greg Busch running fairly fast times. Still got a lap in front of him to Jeremiah Vincent's. Not going to be able to do much with it, but he is still running a fast time. Jeremiah Vincent looks like a rough lap. I don't know if that was maybe an out lap or something, but a 147 is just not going to help you in that position. Kyle Johnson just running a perfect run through there. Gavin seems to make up some of the ground on the braking, but I think he's given up some of the corner exit in order to make that happen, and that's not going to help you on a track like this. Tight battling, but not going to be able to do much with it. Jonathan Casebeer back in 5th, starting to make some ground actually on the two of them. So you'll see him coming to frame that last second. He might be able to make a move on them and catch up. We'll stay on board with these two as they continue to battle. Not much else going on around the track at the moment. Wes has opened up his lead all the way to 18.2 seconds. With that damage Nick sustained, it's not going to help him to be able to chase him down. So Wesley Dunphy pretty much, he runs the fastest lap of the day with a 1:23.657. Beautiful lap by Wes. He is going to be happy with that. Hopefully he didn't burn his tires up too much. He is opened the gap all the way up to 21 seconds on Nick Camp. He's got to be happy with how this run is going today. That's going to be a huge help for him in the points and going to put him in first with a very difficult chance for the next closest guy to be able to run up there with him. Nick will move up with him in the points if it stays this way, so he'll be in second instead of third. But man, is he going to have a huge gap, about a 120-point gap between the two going into our next race. Our next race will be on the 28th at Silverstone. You saw that on Monday if you were watching our extra stream. But these cars on Silverstone are going to be a handful and are going to be fun to watch. These two still running tight laps. Gavin getting a little more aggressive on that back bumper, but not going to be able to do much with it. They do run two different lines for this corner, but not going to help Gavin in the position. Gavin's going to be running behind him. With the way the slipstream works, when you come into the corner, if you're the following car, you get a little bit tight. It is kind of hard to deal with. It is something that these drivers have had practice with, trying to run behind each other, but it's a difficult thing to accomplish to try to get around them when your car is that tight. Still not able to do much. Kyle's just got that perfect line down that front stretch. Just coming out of that hairpin. He is lining up that hairpin perfect, and there's not much that Gavin can do because of it. Getting a little loose there, but not going to do much in the way of passing. These two are probably just having one of the most fun drives. These two do like to play. Oh, and Kyle gets a little bit loose. Gavin going to run the outside of that corner. He will end up passing Kyle for position. Kyle's got to be frustrated with that mistake. That's all it takes at this track is a mistake in order to mess up. And, oh, man, that's going to be something he's going to be kicking himself for. Still a great run for Kyle, but got to be upset about losing that podium position. Gavin Stanball running a 126. So there is a definite gap in this field. Jeremiah Vincent really struggling back there with a 155. Wonder if he just burnt the car up a little bit and not able to do much with it. Wesley Dunphy running a 124.2, so still clicking off fast laps. The only one still running a 124 in these laps. Kyle getting a little loose again. Well, let's go on board with Wesley Dunphy and see how he's running up there on his Sunday cruise. Wesley Dunphy dealing with lap traffic in front of him. The two of them are running pretty tight and aggressive with each other, but that is Wesley's teammate Jeremy, so he might actually be able to use Jeremy to set a pick and get around him. We'll see how they play it out. Jeremy battling with Miguel Lara there. Wes is going to run to the outside. I think they're going to let him by, both of them. Fast as Wes is on this track, there's no use fighting with lap traffic. Wes will get that pass nice and smooth. Now he can go on to run another fast lap. That did slow him down with a 125.2, but still fast enough out there that nobody's going to be able to catch him unless he makes a mistake. Tiniest little bit of damage on the front of that car, but not enough to affect him. He is going to keep running fast laps. All out there on his own. That is the best spot to be in. No dealing with aero issues. Third, fourth, and fifth all starting to get a little heated up here. Gavin Stanball starting to chase down. It is going to be a pretty huge gap from him to Nick. I don't think he's going to have enough. Only just under 13 minutes left in this race. Not much he's going to be able to do with it. Jonathan Caseby starting to apply a little bit of pressure to Kyle. That is going to be something he's going to have to work in order to pass. Gavin Stanball, nice and smooth and tidy through there, going to be able to maximize the exit and get some speed out of that. Looks like now that he's in front of Kyle, he's starting to make the most of it. Clean air on a track like this is important so that we aren't dealing with the side effects of the wall and dealing with the draft effects of the guy in front of you. These cars are very aero effective by the car in front of and behind of them. Gavin needs to be smart and run a nice patient race here, and he'll be able to do something with it. Kyle Johnson running about a second and a half behind him, and then Jonathan a second and a half behind that. So they are running close together. We could see another shakeup if anybody makes a mistake here, but they should be able to make something out of this race. Gavin running a little bit wide there, but able to put the power down on the exit. We'll see a nice fast front straight. There's a little bit of banking. If you really swing it into the inside of there, you can carry a lot of speed through this straight. Beautiful entrance right there, just bringing it up on the curb. He's got to be happy with that. Nice through the fountain. You can tell now that he's got nobody to deal with, he's starting to run some really comfortable laps and making something out of it. A 124.385. That's your fastest lap on the last lap. But Wesley Dunphy still holding on the race fastest lap. Gavin Stanball cutting another 2 seconds off of his time comparison to Nick. Probably not enough to do anything with, as there's 11 minutes left in this race. We'll go on board with Nick and see if we can see what he's got going on, if the car's running anything weird. Pretty smooth and tidy through there, going a little bit wide, but able to maximize the speed. See how aggressive he plays it. He doesn't have to do anything. He's actually losing time on Wes right now, and losing time, Gavin's starting to catch him a little bit. I don't think it's going to be enough at the end of the race, but something he will have to keep in his mind. He's starting to catch up with some of this lap traffic. I believe that's Jeremy Kitchen there in front of him. Jeremy will probably let him by. No need to be an annoyance when you're back multiple laps behind. I know that's a frustrating race for Jeremy. Both these cars without a bumper. One of the issues with running a nice tight street circuit is so many things to run into. It's a beautiful backdrop right there as they go underneath that double bridge. Full speed down through there. We'll see. Probably going to let him by on that front stretch. I'm sure they're communicating that to each other. Jeremy, no, he's going to let him go into the hairpin. Looks like Jeremy playing it smart right there. Nick getting the aggression out, getting some acceleration onto this straight. Gavin has narrowed the lead another 3 seconds. If we follow this out, he's probably going to get within 10 seconds, but not going to be enough to do much with it. Gavin Stanball clicking off fast laps at 124.93. Nick running a full second slower than that with a 125.9. Wesley Dunphy still running low 124s. Gavin Stanball is running fairly close to that pace, but it's not going to be enough to catch up to even Nick. Unless Nick makes a big mistake. Which he probably shouldn't run it all by himself. He should be able to run it fairly clean. His lead, Wesley Dunphy's lead, is almost up to 30 whole seconds there, as Wes is all by himself out on that track. 6th, 8th, and 9th running underneath a blanket running through there. Kyle, nope, Adam Swope, Kyle's teammate, back there into this fight. Looks like we got Kyle, Jonathan, and Jeremiah running close together. Jeremiah Vincent's going to want to take the pass onto at him, but it won't actually be for position on the track, as there's a lap difference right there. We see Miguel Lara getting a little bit too far to the outside and actually crashing. That's not going to help him. Adam Swope running up. He's got a full 50-second gap between him and Jonathan, so he's not going to be able to do much with it. We'll jump up with Kyle and see what's going on up there. Those two running, Jonathan Caspier and Kyle, running fairly close to each other. We'll see if Jonathan's going to have anything for that 4th place position. Kyle running a nice smoother. Oh, just as I say that, he runs into the wall. That's got to be a frustrating issue on that straightaway there. Running to the outside, nice and tidy through that, going into the fountain. Nice and square, nice and smooth, no issues there, and he's going to take off into this tight corner. Jonathan Casebeer getting tight up on his rear bumper, but that is going to mess up his aero. It's going to be a difficult thing for him to deal with. See if he's got the skill to set up a pass. He is being smart, staying in that wing mirror, trying to force an error out of Kyle. Gavin Stambaugh to Nicholas Camp down to 16 seconds. Not going to have enough, more than likely, unless Nick makes a large mistake. This will probably be the last good battle on the track, but we'll get to pull up Wes and see how he enjoyed this drive today. Running close into that wall. You can see the proximity on that wall. That is such a tight corner. Really sets you up onto the straight, though. Nice and tidy through there. Starting to get a little bit more gap on Jonathan. Jonathan's sector right here is better, but not going to be able to do much with the end of lap time. Kyle actually running within a 1/10 of Gavin Stambaugh. Gavin running half a second slower than Wesley. Wesley's actually going to lose a little bit of time on that last lap. You can tell he's just starting to control and save those tires for the end of the race. Up ahead of him, 3rd place, Gavin Stambaugh, dealing with lap traffic. Jeremy Kitchen, we'll see if he ends up having to go around and deal with him. Jeremiah's a nice, smart, controlled driver, and he's willing to let people pass. It looks like he's going to run it through that corner. Gavin should get the better exit and be able to just pass him on the straight. We've got a driver around. Going to think better of it and run himself into the pits. That's a smart move to make in order to not cause any other issues on the track. Gavin Stambaugh just trying to get past Jeremy Kitchen to be able to run up and chase down Nick. Looks like Jeremy's not. There we go. Jeremy going to let him by. Smart way to make a move. Didn't hold Gavin up too much. Gavin has shrunk the lead. Nick must have made a mistake. Shrunk the lead all the way to 7 seconds. Don't think that's going to be enough to make a move with only 4 minutes left. That should only be about 2-3 laps. Probably not enough to make up on this track, as Nick is running all the way back with a 126.2 and Gavin's running a 124.9. It's not enough to make a difference in this. We go on board with Gavin through this track. Let's go on board and stay on board and see how he maneuvers this entire run. See how tight this track is and how difficult it is to maneuver through here. This is one of the hardest corners. You're blind running all the way through this. And then you got to hard on the brakes and try to get this car spun all the way around. A full lock turn, something difficult to get right. We'll see how much he cut off this lap gap between him and Nick and see if he's made any more ground on him. No, actually Nick putting on the heat a little bit and actually getting a little bit of a gap more to Gavin. Maybe he realized the pressure that was going on, and Gavin just not being able to make enough of it to matter. So we see Nick running nice smooth laps. We've got a battle back here for fourth. Kyle Johnson, Jonathan Casebeer getting closer and closer and closer every time. Don't think he's going to have enough to be able to make that pass, but we'll stay on board with these two and see if they can make anything out of it. Jonathan Casebeer with an aggressive line through there, but not going to set him up very well as Kyle comes across to that preferred line. It's going to be such a hard pass in order to make. Jonathan's really got to set it up a few turns ahead of where he wants to make the pass. Right here is going to be the point where if you're going to make a pass on that front stretch, you want to give a little bit of a gap, set it up onto that hairpin turn right there. He goes a little wide. That's not going to help him in the long run. He's going to end up losing a little bit of speed down the front stretch to Kyle. Kyle's going to be able to take off and run. Kyle's got to be happy about how that went. Gavin Stambaugh taking off half a second to Nicholas Camp, but that is not going to be enough to make a pass on there. Looks like Nicholas Camp, realizing the pressure was coming, has started to run faster times down to a 1:25.5. Not going to be enough for Gavin Stambaugh unless Gavin Stambaugh can really put down an incredible lap, and it's a little late on those tires. He's probably not going to be able to make it happen. Jeremiah Vincent and Greg Bush are both on the same lap now, but just under a full lap difference between the two of them. They're not going to be able to really battle for anything. So standings back towards the back of the field, unless there's a big mistake, this is probably how they're going to end. We've got probably one lap left. We'll go on board with Wesley Dunphy and watch his flying last lap. I'm sure he's got to be ecstatic right now, knowing that as long as he doesn't make a mistake, this is pretty much how it's going to end. Wesley Dunphy here, going to run a nice smooth finish lap. Believe this is going to be finishing it out for him. We'll pull him up into the booth after a few minutes and see how happy and ecstatic he is to get this win, and that'll move him up to first in the points championship going into Silverstone on the 28th of this month. Same time here, he's going to be ecstatic to be able to run into that race knowing he's got the lead locked up and there's not much anybody can do for it. Getting a little loose there going into the hairpin. Those tires have got to be just burnt up. But with it being that big of a gap to the next guy, a 43-second gap, there's not much anybody can do. That was the finish for him. I'm sure he's hip hooray and everything. That is good for Wesley Dunphy. Congrats on the win. We'll get him up into the booth after a few minutes to discuss how he felt today went. But right now, just going to be making a victory lap. Enjoying the fact of what he just did and what he accomplished. He did have to make some really good battles out there with Nick and Gavin, but the patience and the determination pays off for him. We'll see Nick Camp coming down this last straight in order to finish. Nobody going to be able to catch him, so that'll be for second place. Gavin Stambaugh comes across the line in third place. It's like Kyle Johnson and Jonathan finish the race out 4th, 5th, so Kyle will keep his 4th place finish. That'll empty out our podium. Our 3rd place position, Gavin Stambaugh. So we see drivers coming through to finish this race. Kyle Johnson just riding his time behind Miguel. These guys will have a little bit of fun here. Let's go to Wesley Dunphy, see if he's celebrating. Running underneath these two tunnels. Passed by Greg Bush, I believe. These drivers are going to come up, give him a little bit of a door, just let him know, congrats, man, you did it. He worked hard at this track trying to figure it out. I'm sure he would have rather have raced with Stewart and actually earned it in his own mind, but he needs to be proud for the work that he's done tonight. Congratulations, Wesley Dunphy. He comes onto this front stretch. We'll see if we get a burnout or anything from him. running wide on the outside. Gavin Stambaugh going to come up beside him. Give him a ceremony door ding. There you go. First, second, and third. 1, 2, 3 right there. Reverse order there, but Kyle Johnson coming by. We're going to see a little bit of partying right here from him. Beautiful burnout right there. Get some fun donuts on this front stretch. And some chaos from some of the other drivers coming through. We'll let these guys do a little bit of partying before we start pulling them up to the booth. We'll go in reverse order on our podium and let Wes really enjoy this. Let's see if we can go find Gavin Stambaugh, pull him up to the booth. Gavin Stambaugh, congratulations on your race today. Third place finish. You got to be happy about that. How do you feel the race went? Shit.
Oh, much unable.
Gavin Stambaugh, how do you feel like the race went for you today?
Oh, it was a struggle after that first wreck. I just got a little too loose, a little too much on the throttle on that exit, but I somehow came back, collected myself, and got P3. So I'm happy.
Well, congratulations on the P3 finish. How did it feel to be out there running with the top 3 positions that close at the beginning of the race? You guys were trading positions back and forth. How'd that feel?
That was awesome. That was probably the most intense thing you can do at this kind of track. I mean, that with these walls and these really tight, you don't got a lot of runoff space. So one person makes mistakes, you got to be ready to check up.
How did that feel to have a little spin out there and give up positions and then fight your way back up to third place? How'd that feel going all the way up there?
It was definitely a battle. At first, after that first spin out, I was definitely a little bit too conservative, but at the end of the day, I recollected and started passing people and was patient. I got up on Kyle's bumper for quite a few laps and was just kind of waiting for that right moment, and he kind of made a little mistake, and I capitalized on it when I needed to, and I feel good.
Well, congratulations on your third place victory. That will move you all the way up to third, I believe, in points. So congrats on that. And we'll see you later.
Have a good one.
Nick, got a copy?
Yeah, what's going on, race control?
How'd the race go for you? I see that you lost your front bumper. We missed that in the race, but seeing you work all the way and stay up in second place, how do you feel?
Well, it was a tough grind. Greg called out a pit from Nxtlvl Motorsports that Jeremiah was pitting, and I just missed my marks in turn 8 and bounced off the tire barrier, and I guess I didn't realize till now that I lost my front clip. That makes sense why I'm doing 2 seconds slower a lap, because I mean I was running 123.5s, and then after that happened I didn't even run a 124. It was like 125.3 would be a fast lap, and I must have did some really weird tire damage, because like my braking was like so far off, and yeah, it was a struggle them last couple laps, but we're satisfied with the P2 finish after knocking the front clip off and bending the tie rods up and all that good jazz.
Well, congratulations on your second place finish. That does move you up into second place in the points with the way that it worked out. So congrats on that, and we'll see you at Silverstone in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you at Silverstone. Like I said, it's just a little bit of a disappointing finish. We had the car to win it probably. HendrickMotorsports.com brought us a fast car, but we'll pick back up and go on the next week.
All right, enjoy. Have a good night.
Hey, thanks, you too.
Wesley Dunphy, got a copy?
Hey, how you doing?
Congrats on your win there. That does move you up into first in the points. You've got to be ecstatic with how well you ran that race. How do you feel?
Well, it's bittersweet, you know. I wanted to outright win against every driver out here. With Reese not showing up, I don't get that. It's nice to actually finally have a win. Getting P2 every race wasn't doing it for me. It's nice to actually win one.
Well, congratulations. Saw that you had to fight for quite a few laps with Nick and Gavin, and I saw you were being real patient. Can you walk us through those laps and your thought process on them?
Yeah, early on, I had a big rookie mistake coming through the last hairpin there. I thought I was in the wrong gear, and I downshifted, and I went down to first and spun the tires real bad. That's when Gavin went around me. So I just kind of kept my head down, knowing that I was already going to plan the undercut, and I was probably going to get out of the pits faster than everybody else because I practiced going into the pits fast. But yeah, other than that, you know, just staying behind Nick, you know, my crew chief kept telling me I was, you know, this guy's holding us up. We're faster, but you know, there's really not any spot to make a move. I was more of just trying to pressure as much as I possibly could, and then once we got to lap 19, it was time for the undercut. So that was my strategy, and looks like it paid off for me.
Well, congrats on the win, and we'll look forward to seeing you and seeing your race for the win at the next race at Silverstone. Have a good night.
Appreciate it, Nate.
And that'll end that for us tonight. We'll see you again December 28th at Silverstone. These cars will look on to take that track. We saw it on Monday with the Cup cars, but these cars will definitely be tricky. We'll see a lot of passing, a lot of good battling, and hopefully have the entire field. We'll see you then.